Hi, welcome to the National Critics' Choice Online News, and today we have a very special guest with us that's going to feature a lot of issues on the opportunities in the Middle East. And it's none other than Mr. Laith Elf Himari. He is the Managing Director and Consultant at Singrec Private Limited here in Singapore. Mr. Laith, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And please tell us more about the overview and facts and statistics of Middle East today.
Yes, the Middle East, of course, is often portrayed for the wrong reasons as being overall a violent part of the world. However, there is a burgeoning young population, which obviously for companies it offers a great future because these young population are potential consumers, and there's a rising middle class in some countries like Iraq, where people have more money to spend and they want to improve their lifestyle. So again, it offers the Middle East offers a lot of business opportunities, despite the chaos in some countries like Syria, for example. That shouldn't deter potential businessmen or investors from coming into the Middle East, as it offers lucrative opportunities. But of course, I will always say, please do your homework first and your due diligence, and that's where companies such as Sinrac assist potential businessmen to enter who may not be familiar with the Middle East to enter the Middle East, and in particular Iraq.
Now, coming to Iraq today, what is the overall facts and figures in today's world?
Sure. Iraq has a population of around 33 million. Over 50% of the population are under the age of 25. Again, as I highlighted earlier, this offers opportunities for companies that are looking at a growing consumer market. It's the only country in the world that's projected to have double-digit GDP growth. There is no other country in the world that has that kind of growth. And I wish to emphasize that, not even China and none of the Gulf states. So people should take Iraq very, very seriously as an investment opportunity or as a place to do business.
Now, speaking about a place to do business, is it crucial for a businessman to take up any basic language learning?
Well, of course, it would be nice to know a few of the greetings and customary greetings like Salam Alaikum, peace be upon you, and the usual reply, which is Wa Alaikum Assalam, and then Marhaba, which is hello, Shukran, thank you. These should be picked up quite quickly, but I would recommend any companies that wish to go into Iraq to appoint someone who is familiar with the territory, with the culture, with the language, with the way that business is done there, because this will make their entry into Iraq a lot easier.
Now, about the culture of Iraqis, why is it that they have 5,000 years of history that you have mentioned before in your earlier
Yes.
research?
Well, I think first of all, Iraq, actually the translation of Iraq is the land between two rivers, and the two rivers are of course the river Tigris and the river Euphrates, which run through Iraq. And these are very ancient rivers, a lot of history. And just for your viewers' information, where the two rivers meet before they go into the Gulf, before it becomes a waterway which goes into the Gulf, is apparently where the Garden of Eden is, which is where, of course, Adam bit the apple. So anyway, that's a little bit of history, but Iraq is similar to China with its history of 5,000 years. There's been so much civilization in that part of the world. The Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Greeks came through Iraq. Alexander the Great died in Babylon, in Iraq. So place is very, very rich with history, and it's just unfortunate that the recent history has not allowed people to appreciate its ancient history. But and just to finish that topic off, Iraq was previously known as Mesopotamia.
Now, how important is the culture of family and honor in business for the Iraqis and non-Iraqis?
Okay, that's a good question. For Iraqis, family and honor is very important in business. And you'll find with a lot of Iraqi businesses, particularly in the private sector, their family and extended family seem to be filling a lot of the roles in those companies. And the basic reason is trust. They want to work with people, Iraqis want to work with people that they trust and tend to appoint from within the extended family or within the tribe, within the tribal network. So your second point about foreigners, foreigners have to be aware of this when they're working with Iraqi companies, because there's in all the key positions within the company will be filled by mainly the family members. Again, it doesn't always have to be the immediate family, it can be the extended family or the tribe. So this is a key to understanding the way that business is conducted in Iraq, particularly when working with Iraqi companies.
And how long does it take to gain the trust of an Iraqi partnership to enable to penetrate the markets?
Well, Iraqis actually, unlike some of our southern neighbors, are less aloof and less arrogant and very friendly actually. It's Iraqi hospitality is very well known, and the Iraqis like to get close in the business sense of the word, of course. They like to get close to their potential foreign partner, and that closeness enables the business relationship to succeed. If there's a certain distance, the Iraqi may not want to continue the business because he feels he can't trust that person. So the closer you develop a friendship, the better the business links will be. And this is how it works in Iraq.
Now, there's an issue between public versus private for the Iraqis. How is it defined and exercised?
Okay. When you look at the Iraqis' behavior, it's molded by this public versus private. Now, let's talk about this in a little bit more detail. The private, if we look at it as being two rings, you have the individual in the middle and you have two rings. The private is the inner ring. The public is the outer ring. Now, the private, which is the inner ring, is basically the way that person's behavior is shaped through his family and tribal links. So the way he behaves in business and within his family is shaped by the inner ring. The outer ring, the public, basically defines his behavior outside his domain when dealing with the world. He will deal with the world in a different way to the way he will deal within the inner ring. So it's two different behavioral mannerisms when we talk about public versus private.
Now, we came to believe that Iraqis do not wish to be surprised in business. So, what are the kinds of advice would you give for a businessman or an investor when dealing with Iraqis and as well as communicating in clarity? Is it true that they do not wish to have surprises, or even they want to avoid uncertainty?
Yes, that's, first of all, you're correct in what you say. The Iraqis do not. It's part of their culture that they don't like to take risks, and they like to do things at their own pace and slowly but surely. That's something that foreigners have to understand when doing business in Iraq. And of course, when dealing with the unexpected can be, it's something that foreigners should be aware of when handling Iraqis.
Now, how do Iraqis handle change? Are they receptive to change, or sudden changes? Are they able to adapt sudden changes?
Yes,
And
they are receptive to change, but again, it takes time. You have to be very patient in Iraq. You have to be very patient.
so, in your experience, how patient have you been with with the
Well,
Iraqis?
when I worked in Iraq from 2003 to 2005, the company that I represented, we managed to secure projects in Iraq, but it took 2 years of hard work and patience, and it paid off. So that's my advice to companies. Don't think you can go into Iraq and make a fast buck overnight. It's not going to happen. You need to be very, very patient.
Now, what is the perception of uncertainty? Why is it that Iraqis do not wish to face uncertainty? Because sometimes businesses is found very commonly around the world that uncertainty and surprises usually come together.
Yes. Again, this is a cultural factor. The Iraqis are not receptive to uncertainty, probably because in the recent history there's been a lot of uncertainty in terms of the social, political and economic fabric of Iraq, whereby there's been so many events, unfortunate events that have shaped the Iraqi mindset. So this has led to a lot of Iraqi businessmen being very wary of uncertainty.
Does that apply throughout the whole of Middle East, the way they do business as well?
Perhaps I would say perhaps, but not to the extent that we have in Iraq, because the other locations in the Middle East have not been fallen prey to the wars that Iraq has been through, to the UN sanctions. There's been more stability in that part of the world.
Now, what are the national religions that does Iraq observe?
Iraq is mainly a Muslim country. Around 97% are Muslims, of which you have, within the Muslim faith, you have two sects, the Shia and the Sunni. The Shia are around 60%, the Sunni are around 40% of the Muslim population. Then, of course, you have Christians and other minority sects, such as the Yazidis, and that's about 3%.
And how strongly is this Islamic faith being observed in business? And does most of our viewers need to understand and observe when they conduct business? Are there certain religious practices that Iraq observe?
Well, Iraq has become increasingly religious, like a lot of the Muslim world, like a lot of the Arab world. It's become increasingly religious over the last decade or so, and one of the reasons for that, for people turning to religion, is because of their situation in life, because of the political situation and economic situation, not giving the average Iraqi the opportunity they deserve. They have turned to religion. So religion plays a large part of people's day-to-day life in Iraq, and particularly when conducting business. You have to be aware of the fact that there are times when it's the call to prayer, when your counterpart will not be able to meet you, or there are religious holidays that you have to be aware of. So religion is increasingly playing a part in business activities.
And how about the Iraqi economy? What is the outlook moving forward for Iraqis?
I think until this security situation really settles down, Iraq will be on a roller coaster ride. But I'd like to highlight that it's in the right direction. Economically, Iraq is moving in the right direction. However, it is a little bit of a roller coaster due to the political and security situation. I think in the long term, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it's going to take a while. And also, we want the younger generation to come through in Iraq with new ways of thinking, new ways of doing business. This hopefully will also improve Iraq's economic and social situation.
Now, what kind of working practices in Iraq do they observe on the national level?
If we look at the working practices, business is generally from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. However, for the government sector, it's from 8 a.m. to 1 or 2 p.m. However, if you're going to go and visit the government sectors, you need to arrive. If you arrive by 8 a.m., you're not likely to find anyone there. You need to arrive by around 9 a.m. and then you don't expect anybody to be at their desk at 1 p.m. either. You'll need to make sure that if you're going to visit the ministries, you go at 9:30 and latest by 12:30. Now, this isn't because Iraqis are lazy. This is due to the business culture that was a legacy of the previous regime when Saddam Hussein was in power. So eventually, I hope that the government will improve its efficiency and effectiveness in prolonging the hours of work for government employees.
Now, about working practices in Iraq, when an investor or a businessman enters an agreement with the Iraqis, especially in or closing a deal, what about presentation of gifts to Iraqis?
Yes.
What is the norm practice?
Okay. Basically, gifts shouldn't be presented to public sector employees, or if they are, they should be like pens or something associated with the company that's presenting the gift, but nothing extravagant. You have to be aware of that. Now, if you're working with the private sector and you have a good relationship with the director of the company, the Iraqi company, then it's okay to give him a more extravagant gift. It's a sign of the closeness of the business relationship.
Now, what kind of structure and hierarchy in Iraqi companies should investors or businessmen should observe?
I think you have to be foreigners need to be aware of Iraqi companies being very hierarchical, and the authority often rests with the boss at the top, and there's a clear gap between the higher echelons of management and the people on the floor. It's in a way you could say it's quite feudal, but the boss will be normally the sole decision maker. He may take advice from a small council of advisors, but otherwise he will make the decision. It's less, I would say, in some companies, maybe in the West, you would have more of a teamwork approach, but a stakeholder approach. That may not be the case in Iraq.
So should investors or businessmen, when they come to Iraq to do business, should they see the owner or chairman of the company, or should they see and meet with their officers first? How does that work?
Well, I think it depends on who is representing the foreign company. Normally, the boss of the company would like to meet especially a foreigner is coming into Iraq, the boss would normally like to meet that foreigner before then delegating someone from his company to assist or work with the foreigner. So you will normally meet the guy at the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, uh, what is the kind of working relationships in Iraq? Um, how do businesses able to establish a good relationship?
I think if first of all, it's being aware of cultural sensitivities. It's being patient. It's building up that trust factor with the Iraqi counterpart, and again, it's doing your homework. I wouldn't recommend to any foreign company to jump into bed with the first Iraqi company that they meet. If they're going to have a joint venture in Iraq, they should really do their homework and be very, very patient. Um, and this is again where companies such as Sinrak can assist foreign companies to try and find the right partner in Iraq.
Now, could you tell us more about the general business practices in Iraq and also social taboos?
Um, in Iraq, you have to be wary of certain do's and don'ts. So when it comes to don'ts, um, you need to be aware of not talking about the war, for example. Try not to bring up the war, the recent war, unless your Iraqi host does. And also try not to ask about the female relatives of his family. You can ask how's the family, but don't specifically ask about the ladies. Then you shouldn't sit when you're sitting down. Do not let the soles of your feet face the Iraqi counterpart. This is seen as the ultimate insult. There are other things. When you shake hands, for example, you have to sometimes maintain a long grip with your Iraqi counterpart. Try not to be the first one to release the hand when shaking hands. Direct eye contact is always good. These are some of the characteristics of a business relation of the social side of the business relationship that foreigners need to be aware of.
And how about the way they address the Iraqi, especially the male or female, and especially those with the titles right in front of them? Is there any formality?
I think I forgot to mention earlier that when coming across ladies who are in business, do not extend your hand out to them unless they extend theirs. If they don't extend their hand out, just politely say hello. Now, concerning, sorry, could you
titles?
The
Yeah,
titles, yes.
that's right.
The titles. So, for example, Iraqis are very conscious of their ranking. So it's always nice to be aware of this. So if the gentleman has a PhD or is a doctor, obviously in Arabic we call him doctor. If he's an engineer by trade, you call him muhandis. Otherwise you address him as ustad, which means mister. Or if you're not sure what to address him as, you should find out perhaps the name of his oldest son, and you call him Abu Ahmed. If his oldest son is called Ahmed, so you call him Abu Ahmed, which means the father of Ahmed.
Now, is it true that Iraqis usually like to have a pre-meeting discussions? Is that a cultural?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
If you're going to have a meeting with a group of Iraqi businessmen, please be prepared for a lot of polite small talk before the meeting. And this is a way of the Iraqi party basically trying to figure you out and trying to decide whether to trust you or not. And another thing is you'll probably have to drink a lot of sweet cardamom tea or Turkish coffee during these meetings, so be prepared for that.
So how can a businessman or a foreigner able to gauge and know that they're gaining the trust of the Iraqi business community?
I think when, for example, one good example is when an Iraqi businessman invites you to his house. The ultimate honor in Iraqi society. When someone invites you to their house, it's really a sign that they trust you, and you shouldn't reject that invite. I would recommend to any businessmen who are invited to an Iraqi's house never to reject the invitation. It's a sign of how close the business relationship is, and again, it's being aware of all those cultural factors that we mentioned earlier that allows a business relationship to succeed in Iraq.
So if they are invited into the homes of by the Iraqi community,
Yeah.
what are the dining customs they have to observe?
Okay, you have to be aware. First of all, should you take your shoes off before you go inside? When you sit down, try to sit cross-legged, or you kneel on one knee. Don't allow your feet to touch the food mat if you're eating on the floor. Iraqis are generally quite formal when it comes to dining. Try not to pass anything with your left hand, because it's normally the hand that you use for sanitary purposes. Always use your right hand and eat from your right hand. It's some of the things you need to note.
And so, please tell us, how can our viewers able to contact Stienberg? Do you have a website?
Yes, we do. It's www.sinraq.com, and you can send us your contact details via this website, and we'll get in touch with you. And we'll be happy to look at any businesses in Singapore or in the Far East that are looking to establish a presence in Iraq. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very lucrative market, and it's one that shouldn't be underestimated, despite all the, let's say, the violence that people read about or watch on TV. Actually, there's a lot of business going on in Iraq.
Now, moving forward, could you tell us about the opportunities for investors in Iraq? Is it really true, and are there precious metals other than just oil to invest, or mining, etc.? Could you give some highlights?
Yes, of course, the backbone of Iraq's industry is the oil and gas. Iraq has one of the largest oil reserves in the world. It has the 10th largest gas reserves in the world. This is the backbone of Iraq's industry. There are, of course, associated industries such as precious metals and mining, which is investors are increasingly looking at these opportunities because the government is opening these industries to foreign investment. The Iraqi government realizes it doesn't have the resources to exploit its mineral wealth, so they are inviting in foreign companies to look at these opportunities.
Moving forward, what kind of future would you see in Iraq? Will Iraq emerge as one of the top 10 Middle East countries in the world that is able to become a world-class city?
Iraq has a lot of potential, but a lot of it depends on the Iraqis themselves. We have to do our best for our country, and we look at our neighboring countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and we look at the progress that they've made, and there's no reason why Iraqis can't do just as well as they did. And in particular, Iraq has one resource, which is its human resource. And the Iraqis are very capable people. Unlike the Gulf states, which rely on foreigners, Iraq does not have that tendency to rely on foreigners, except for specialist areas. The Iraqis are very capable. From the general manager to the guy who cleans the floor, you'll find that these are Iraqis. So, unlike the neighbouring countries where they do have a dependency on foreign labour. So if we can get our act together as a people, the country can really move forward. It has a great potential.
Well, once again, Mr. Liv, thank you for joining us here at the National Critics' Choice. And viewers, please do visit their website at www.sinraq.com for more information. And Sinraq, the spelling is SINRAQ.com.
Shukran.